Great. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the session today. I've actually presented at an airport before, so it's quite interesting. So this session is on would your business pass its pre-flight information security checks? So in-flight menu today, with organisations soaring to use cloud services, what can you do as a business to reassure customers and suppliers that their data is safe? So there's lots of different standards that you could look at, and in this session we're just going to quickly go through some of the main ones, mainly Cyber Essentials, ISO27001 and SOC2. I'm also going to mention some training that you could do and also some qualifications from Microsoft and also CompTIA. So by the end of the session you'll hopefully be cleared for takeoff. If this is not the session you're looking for, then the exit is there. So let's start by defining information security. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it said information security, sometimes referred to as InfoSec, is the practice of protecting information and mitigating information risks. So my role is about information security. IBM's definition's got a little bit more detail in it, and they talk about the protection of an organisation's important information. So that could be digital files, it could be data, it could be paper, documents, physical media, even language and text and speak. So it's preventing against unauthorised access, disclosure, use or alteration. Microsoft's definition goes into even more detail. So it's a set of security procedures and tools that broadly protect sensitive enterprise information from misuse, or unauthorized access, disruption or destruction. So InfoSec is basically covering everything from physical to environmental security down to access control and cyber. So it's also including technologies like cloud security, deception tools, endpoint detection, security testing, and DevOps, and all those different things. So there's a lot in there in the Microsoft definition. But why is all of this important? And in information security, we often talk about 3 pillars of information, and we refer to it as the CIA triad. So it's about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these make up the cornerstones of information protection, and it's the basis of a security infrastructure framework. So confidentiality is ensuring that sensitive information remains confidential and it's not accessed by unauthorized individuals. The second one is integrity, and that's guaranteeing that information is remaining accurate and unaltered. And the third one is availability. So it's ensuring that information is available when it's needed. So that is the CIA triad. But information is also about risk mitigation. So what information security measures can we put in place to help mitigate those risks associated with cyber threats, data breaches, and all sorts of other security incidents? The other important thing is compliance. So many industries and jurisdictions have specific regulations governing protection of things like sensitive data. But when we're thinking, well, where did all of this come from? Where did it all start? And it actually started in the First World War. So there was a multi-tier classification system that was generated to handle sensitive information during wartime. In the Second World War, this evolved into a formal alignment of the classification system, and it was established and adopted by Alan Turing. So he was a brilliant British mathematician, and he was famous for decrypting the Enigma machine, which was used by the Germans. So this contributed greatly into the whole start of the information security history that we see today. So effective information security is requiring that comprehensive approach that considers technology, policies, procedures, and people. So it's our shield against that ever-evolving landscape of threats in the digital age. So what is an information security framework? Well, the answer is to create an information security framework, we need a set of policies, we need guidelines, and we need best practices to manage organizational security risks. So as business owners and leaders, we have a responsibility to ensure that anyone working within our organisation and using our systems and our devices are using them safely. So we need to protect customer data from the likes of phishing attacks, data breaches. And I really like this old story of responsibility. So everybody thought somebody was doing it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry because everybody could do it. So everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. So who's doing your cybersecurity? So whether you're a one-man band through to a small business to a large organisation, someone needs to wear that information security hat. So in terms of our organisation, I head up information security. We're classed as a small to medium enterprise, but it's really important that even though we're a small business, we're working with big businesses, and we need someone that oversees this, and they might be known as a Chief Information Security Officer, a CISO, or an InfoSec Director. It doesn't matter what the title is, they need to be looking at information security. And a lot of the role is about developing and implementing and enforcing security policies. And this is about protecting critical data. It's also doing things like risk assessments to identify potential security risks. It's having cybersecurity plans to manage those risks and mitigate them. It's about implementing measures to protect that sensitive data. Incident response, we need to be making sure that we're securing our assets and that infrastructure. We need to be protecting sensitive data, managing those risks. And most importantly, it's establishing a culture within the entire organisation about safety awareness within the company. And one thing that I do is I embed that into our supplier chain as well. So I work with our suppliers, our customers, and ourselves to make sure we have that culture. So what I also did is I signed us up to annual training and things like GDPR, cyber awareness. So all of our employees have to do that, but also our contractors do as well. So it's not just something for the staff, it's literally embedded throughout the whole organisation. So I'm just going to jump through some of the key standards and accreditations as a business that you could do. So in the UK, we have something called Cyber Essentials. So it's a UK government-run scheme, and it's encouraging organisations to adopt good practice in information security. And it's operated by the National Cyber Security Centre. So this is about having a really good assurance framework. It's a really good starting place if you haven't got anything, because it's giving you a really simple set of security controls which protects your organisation from threats. And it focuses on 5 key areas. So it looks at firewalls, it looks at secure configuration, it looks at user access control, it looks at malware, and it also looks at patch management. So with everything, there's always pros and cons. Pros, it's demonstrating, if you've gone through it, that you've got a professional approach to data and that you're looking after it, and it gives clients reassurance. It complies with GDPR. It gives that peace of mind. If you're working with government and defence, it can be a prerequisite, especially in the UK, so they will make sure that you've got Cyber Essentials. It'll be part of their onboarding and security questionnaires they ask you to complete. Sometimes it's literally a differentiator. It stands you out from someone else that hasn't got it. So those are the pros around it. Cons could be the cost. Starts from £300 plus VAT. There's 2 different versions of Cyber Essentials. There's a Cyber Essentials Plus, which also goes to the next level and does things like penetration testing. So there's additional costs then of having that done to get the Cyber Essentials Plus. So if you're a small business, you may not have that much equipment, you may not have staff, so it might be overkill. So you need to think carefully about your growth plans for the future, about where you're going to be going. It may become apparent that once you've gone through it, that there's loads of stuff that needs fixing. You may not have the knowledge in-house, so there may be extra time, extra cost to fix the things that Cyber Essentials has identified. So Cyber Essentials it's not just a baseline, it's about trying to establish where you're currently at. And because it's kind of a simplified version, it doesn't actually cover everything. So you might want to go to the next level. So one thing that we looked at was ISO27001. It's the world's best known global standard for information security management. So what we've done is put in place an IS management framework system, so ISMS. So they've just literally updated it to 2022, actually. So they've kind of simplified it a bit. I think it's actually easier to use. But pros around ISO 27001 is that it's having that structured framework for identifying and assessing information security risks to provide a more secure and resilient IT environment. It could be helping organisations to meet legal and regulatory obligations to GDPR. But it is really about demonstrating that commitment to information security, and it could be that valuable differentiator, especially when you're going for tenders and pitches. We get asked for it all the time because we do data analytics. They want to know what we're doing and how we're protecting their data and our data. Cons with ISO 27001, it can be quite time-consuming to implement it all, especially if you're starting from scratch, because you've got to create the framework, you've got to create the policies, the controls, the measures, you've got to put all the templates in place, have a whole auditing process. So it can be quite time-consuming, but once you've got it all set up, it then becomes business as usual. It could involve having a complete cultural shift within the organisation to embrace it. And again, if you're a small business, you might be thinking, oh, this is overkill doing all of this, but actually it's really, really important. So it could, the decision on whether to do it or not is based on a really good assessment of what your organisational goals and resources and your commitment is to information security. But it really does help boost customer trust. As soon as we say that we've got ISO 27001, they're like, yeah. And sometimes we even get like a shorter information security questionnaire to complete because they know that we've already covered X amount of controls and measures, because to get ISO 27001, an auditor has to come in and assess you against those, and you have to prove that you literally live it. There's another standard that's at play, and it's called SOC2. So SOC2 is a set of audit reports, and it basically evidences how you conform to information security controls. Whereas ISO 27001 is more of a standard, and it goes a lot deeper because that's creating a whole framework. It's a set of practices, it's how you operate it and how you improve your systems internally. So SOC2 is mainly relevant to the United States, whereas ISO 27001 is internationally recognised. So again, it's covering a wider area. With SOC2, there are two different types of reports that you can have done, but it's very, very costly. The average cost starts at $30,000, and it can go up to $60,000 just for the audit alone. To implement the full solution, you could be spending anything up to $100,000. It's very, very expensive. But we chose ISO 27001 for our business because we felt it was more in-depth. We were actually creating a whole framework. It's recognised globally, so it reassured even our US clients. They were happy that we had that. And for us, it was more cost-effective. So those are kind of, I mean, there's loads more, but those are the three main ones that I've picked out that I think are relevant. There's all sorts of different training and resources. If you're in the UK, the government have put together free online training courses, and you can find it on the gov.uk website. Also, if you have a look at the National Cyber Security Centre, loads of great free resources on there, and also it's a really good signpost of information. But it might be that you're completely overwhelmed with all this and you haven't got the knowledge or the time in-house, and you might want to outsource some of this to help you embed it and create an information security framework. So you can partner with groups like BSI, they're an international consultancy, and they work with clients and stakeholders to implement things like ISO 27001. But very simply on their website, they've just got free training courses as well that you could do. So there's three different resources there, and again, this is in the handout which you can access on the portal. But I also wanted to mention CompTIA. So they are known globally. They're a vendor-agnostic trade association, and they help people to upskill. So they provide industry-leading certifications. One of their flagship courses that you could do is called the CompTIA Security Plus exam. It's a global certification. It's basically validating the skills that you need to perform core security functions. So if you're a member of CompTIA, it's not just limited to one person. If you join, anyone can do that accreditation. So that's a really good one to look at. But But obviously, I have to mention Microsoft exams. You know, we're at a Microsoft conference. There's a couple of relevant ones. There's SC200, which is a Microsoft Security Operations Analyst. That's focusing more on the IT systems, how to improve threat protection, things like using Azure Sentinel, Azure Defender, 365 Defender, and other third-party products. That's more about the protection and the threats. SC300, that's about designing and implementing access management using Active Directory, authentication, so that's all around how you administer that. You've got SC400, which is about planning and implementing controls. So it's more about compliance controls, and how you create IT processes and operations. And then the last one that's relevant is SC900, so that's looking at the basics of security, compliance, cloud-based access, and Microsoft services. So there's a couple of really good exams there you could have a look at if you're interested in doing a Microsoft cert. So Satya Nadella said in a keynote that Microsoft's ambition is to help every organization adopt a zero-trust architecture. But I like to think about information security as it being everyone's responsibility, and that's the message that we need to communicate to all. So thank you for flying with me today. We looked at what you can do as a business to reassure customers and suppliers. We covered ISO27001, Cyber Essentials, SOC2, signposted some training that you could do. So hopefully this has given you some ideas of things that you could look at within your organization, or if you're an employee, something you could recommend to your leadership team of, you know, I really think we should have a look at this. As with all SQL Bits sessions, the feedback is really, really valuable. All the speakers are volunteers, giving up their time for free. So it's really important that we give feedback, and especially for non-technical sessions like this. So it would be great. I'd really appreciate it if you give me some. So I think we have a little bit of time at the end for some questions, or you're free to go and get some tea and coffee. Is there anything from the online attendees? So no questions from there. Any questions in the room? In which case, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you at the conference. I'll see you at the party later. Okay, thank you.